This is your old self. The thoughts you replay, the emotions you revisit, the memories you cling to. And as long as you hold on to this, your reality can't shift. The weight isn't always physical. Often it's invisible, a quiet burden you've carried for years. But it's there in the tightness in your chest each morning, in the voice that whispers, "Don't expect too much," in the cycles you swore you'd break, but repeated anyway. It lives in your nervous system, your biology, your smallest choices. It's not just your past, it's a frequency, and like a song on repeat, your old self keeps playing while your dreams stay on hold. Here's what no one says. You can't step into a new life while staying loyal to the energy of your past. Most don't realize this. They try to manifest by changing their thoughts, visualizing, scripting, but underneath, they're still the same person, waking up in the same emotional state, replaying the same story, expecting the world to change while they stay identical to who they were yesterday. Let's be honest. That identity, your old self, was built for one thing: survival. It was shaped by pain. In reaction to rejection, failure, disappointment. You didn't choose it deliberately. It was a reflex, a shield, a mask you grew used to wearing. But over time, that mask felt normal, comfortable. You forgot it wasn't you. But what if it's not? What if the voice saying you're not ready, or that's too risky, isn't truth? Just the echo of a past you haven't let go of. Quantum physics reveals something radical. Reality doesn't exist apart from you. It responds to the observer, to your state of being. You aren't separate from the field. You are the field, made manifest. So every time you wake up as that old self, guess what the universe gives you? More of the same. Not because you're doomed, not because you're failing, but because the field matches coherence, and you're the tuning fork. You don't manifest what you want, you manifest who you are. That's why this work isn't about becoming someone new. It's about unlearning who you're not. The old self wants to protect you, but safety isn't your soul's purpose. Stagnation isn't your destiny. That heavy identity, shaped by trauma, shame, failure, isn't the version of you who lives the reality you've glimpsed in your brightest visions. That future is waiting, and it already exists, not far ahead, but in a parallel vibration, a frequency you align with, not chase. But here's the truth: you can't reach that reality while addicted to your past. You can't relive guilt, resentment, or self-doubt and expect growth. You can't show up as yesterday's self and step into a new timeline. So what do? In this video, we'll break the cycle. We'll meet the old self, not to judge it, but to release it. We'll thank it for its lessons, then let it go. Together we'll enter the quantum field, not with words, but with vibration. I'll guide you in dissolving the past's imprint, so you can finally embody the version of you already living the life you desire. Because the field isn't asking for more effort, it's waiting for you to tune in anew. You're not stuck because your future isn't real. You're stuck because your identity keeps recreating the same reality. But once you shift that, once you drop the weight, the wounds, the labels, you'll witness magic. Life will bend, reality will rearrange. The field will respond, not to your words, but to your being. Now breathe, something is already stirring, and it's not outside you, it's waking up within. Are you ready to meet the version of you that's already free? Let's continue. You wake up, same bed, same thoughts, same inner voice whispering through your mind before you even open your eyes. Maybe today will be different, you think. But the moment your feet hit the floor, your body has already decided otherwise. Why? Because long before your conscious mind starts creating, your subconscious identity has taken over. You don't step into a new day. You step into an old self, again. The body remembers. It remembers who you've been, not as memory, but as biology. Emotions turn into neurochemical patterns. Behaviors become automatic. Over time, you stop responding to the present. You just replay the past, again and again, until the present stops feeling alive and starts feeling like déjà vu. According to Dr. Joe Dispenza, by the time you're 35, 95% of who you are is a collection of memorized behaviors, emotional reactions, unconscious habits, ingrained attitudes, beliefs, and perceptions. In other words, most of what you call you isn't really you. It's conditioning. It's the old self, and it's in control. Bruce Lipton takes this further. The moment you change your perception is the moment you rewrite your body's chemistry, which means that who you're being chemically, emotionally, energetically is shaping the reality you live. This is why change feels so hard, because you're not just trying to shift a thought, you're trying to break the emotional addiction your body has to being that version of you. The self that expects disappointment, that's braced for abandonment, that doesn't believe it's worthy of big things, not because it's broken, but because long ago it decided expecting less was safer. You didn't choose to live this way, but at some point your system decided suffering was familiar, and familiar feels safe, even when it hurts. This is the real prison, not the world outside, but the identity we're afraid to let go of, even when it's making us sick. Even when it robs us of joy, even when we know, deep down, it's not who we really are. So let me ask you, with compassion, not judgment, what emotions do you feel most often? Regret, anger, shame, insecurity, doubt? What if those emotions aren't random? What if they're practiced? What if your body craves those signals because they feed the chemical identity of the old you? And if that's true, what kind of reality is that emotional broadcast attracting? Here's the hard truth. Most avoid, your old self isn't just a memory. It's a magnetic force, and the quantum field is listening, not to your affirmations, not to your vision board, but to the emotional frequency you emit. 24 Mintic 7. You might say you want love, but if your default is, I'm not enough, you'll push intimacy away. You might picture abundance, but if fear is your emotional home, you'll unknowingly shut out opportunities, not because you're unworthy, but because your nervous system hasn't yet upgraded to the version of you ready to receive. That's why you can read every book, take every course, chant every mantra, and still feel trapped. Because healing isn't just mental, it's energetic, cellular. So what now? First, we notice the pattern, not to judge it, but to see it. To realize who you've been isn't permanent. It's a practiced vibration, one you can stop reinforcing the instant you choose not to claim it. This isn't self-loathing, it's self-freedom, permission to drop the weight of a version of you that only existed to survive a world that's gone. And here's the paradox. The moment you face your old self without becoming it, when you see it through your higher self's eyes, you become the witness. And in quantum terms, that shifts everything. The observer collapses the wave. Once you see your old self as a pattern, you're no longer the pattern, you're the awareness observing it. And that awareness, it's the first glimmer of a whole new reality. So now I ask you to act, not just with likes or follows. I want something real. Pause and comment below with this phrase. I am ready to release the version of me that no longer fits my future, not as a habit, not as a trend, but as a choice. A deliberate break in the cycle, a signal to the universe that you're no longer holding on to the past. And if this message is stirring something within you, something old, something sacred, something deep, then I invite you to tune in, not just to this channel, but to this new frequency. This space isn't about information. It's about transformation. It's about transformation. And if you're ready for that shift, you're exactly where you need to be. We've been told to ask, to believe, to visualize, and yet so many of us are still waiting for something to click, for the money to come, for the right person to show up, for the breakthrough to finally happen. And when it doesn't, we doubt ourselves. We wonder if we're doing it wrong, if we're stuck, if maybe we're not meant for more. But what if the issue isn't that your desire is too big, but that your energy is still too familiar? Here's the truth. Most manifestation teachings miss. The quantum field doesn't respond to your words. It doesn't react to your vision board. It doesn't even care what you claim to want. It reflects only one thing: your state of being. This is the law of vibrational alignment. In quantum terms, alignment is when your heart, your mind, your emotions, and your actions are all in sync. It's the energetic yes the universe is listening for. Not the kind of yes you jot in a journal or say out loud once in the morning, but the kind of yes that's embodied, felt, lived, unwavering. You can't out-manifest your vibration. The field doesn't hear "I want abundance." It hears "I am lacking." If that's what you feel all day, it doesn't see your dream home. If you're living in fear, it doesn't register your desire for love. If your emotional baseline is loneliness, jealousy, or unworthiness. Not because the field is harsh, but because it's precise. Think of the quantum field like a mirror. You don't raise your hand and expect the reflection to lift the other. You have to move truly for the reflection to follow. The problem is, most of us are trying to manifest from our current self. We're using the lens of who we are now to reach for a reality that belongs to a completely different version of us. But the future you, the one living the life you crave, doesn't just think differently. They are different. They feel different. They enter rooms differently. They speak from a deeper truth. They've shifted from wanting to being, from hoping to embodying. Let's break it down even more clearly. Every thought you have sends an electrical signal. Every emotion you feel emits a magnetic charge. Together, your thoughts and emotions are a vibrational broadcast, like a radio signal, constantly transmitting a message to the quantum field. And that message isn't what you want, it's who you are. So ask yourself, what are you broadcasting? Is your inner frequency a match for the reality you claim to want? Or are you still transmitting lack, fear, doubt, and impatience, while trying to tune into a reality built on gratitude, trust, joy, and abundance? Imagine trying to listen to a soul-stirring symphony, but your radio is stuck on static. That's what it's like when your old self tries to reach for a new reality. And it's not just about positive thinking. That's surface level. This is about energetic truth. Because the universe, the field, doesn't respond to what's on your lips. It responds to what's in your nervous system. One of the most powerful insights from Heisenberg and the observer effect is this: the act of observing collapses potential into form. But here's the twist. It's not just that you observe reality. It's that who you are while observing determines what unfolds. Neville Godd put it beautifully. You're not manifesting, you're selecting. and who your being is the selector. Let that sink in. You're not attracting a future, you're tuning into one, choosing it, aligning with it. But you can't align with something your current self has never known. That's why the shift is internal. You become the version of you that naturally draws in what you've been chasing. You don't pull things in. You rise to meet them. This is why manifestation without identity work will always feel like pushing, like a boulder uphill. You're trying to build a future on the foundation of an old self, and it doesn't matter how perfect the blueprint is. If the ground beneath hasn't changed, the structure will crumble. So here's the question that matters more than any vision board. Who do I need to be to match the energy of what I desire, not in the future? Now, in this moment, in thought, in feeling, in action, in embodiment. Because when you transform, the universe responds. Not slowly, but instantly. Not always in physical form right away, but in energy, in signs, in synchronicities, in sensations. You'll know because you'll feel it, that quiet pull that says you've locked onto something real. You'll stop feeling like you're forcing it, and start feeling like you're exactly where you need to be, at the right time, doing the right thing, as the right version of you. And that's where the field starts to bend, ready to meet the person your future self already is. You don't need to create the new you. You just need to remember them. There's a version of you already living in the frequency of everything you've ever wanted. Not a future version, not some distant ideal. A real, alive self that already exists, right now, in the quantum field. And the only thing keeping you from that version is your vibration. This might sound radical, but quantum physics has been saying it for decades. Reality isn't linear. Time isn't fixed. You're not moving down a straight path from point A to B, slowly building towards some future self. What really exists is a vast, infinite field of now, all happening at once, all within reach, depending on what you tune into. In quantum terms, we call this the multiverse. In spiritual terms, we call this divine potential. Either way, the message is the same. The you who's thriving, healed, empowered, magnetic, they're not on their way, they're already here. In a different frequency, a different vibration, a different state of being. And your job isn't to chase them. Your job is to close the gap between where you are and who they are, by matching their vibration. But let's pause here, because this isn't just theory. This is deeply practical. So ask yourself, if your highest self were already living inside you, what would they think? How would they breathe, walk, talk to strangers, handle money, face uncertainty? Would they still cling to doubt? Would they still replay that old story of rejection? Would they settle for less, thinking maybe this is all they get? No, your higher self operates from trust, from alignment, from quiet confidence and unshakable calm. They don't manifest through force. They attract through harmony. Their energy speaks before they do, and everything in their life, relationships, health, purpose, responds in kind. Because here's what most people miss. The universe doesn't shift because you're worthy. It shifts because you're resonant. And resonance isn't something you plead for, it's something you embody. That's why the most powerful change you can make today isn't outward, it's inward. It's choosing to let go of the old story and step into the new one. Not because it's already here physically, but because you've chosen to meet it vibrationally. You move first, then the path reveals itself. So let's go deeper. Close your eyes for a moment. Picture yourself walking into a room, The version of you who already lives the life you want is standing there. Feel their presence, not as something distant or mystical, but as someone familiar, because they are you. They've always been you, just waiting for you to remember. Look at how they carry themselves, the ease in their posture, the light in their eyes, the certainty in their voice. They don't need to convince anyone. They embody truth. They've dropped the weight. They've burned the old scripts. They've released the version of themselves built on fear. And in its place, they've let a new identity rise. Now ask them, what did they release to become this free? Because the new self isn't built by adding more, it's uncovered by subtracting, by shedding layers of conditioning, pain and pretense, until only the core remains. Soul, truth, alignment. This is the shift. You aren't becoming something. You're remembering something. You aren't building a new reality. You're tuning into one that already exists. And here's where it gets magical. The moment you do, the moment you stop resonating with the old frequency and start living as the new self, the world responds. Subtly, at first, a thought you've never had, a message from someone unexpected, a nudge towards something your old self would have missed. The more you trust that flow, the more the new timeline solidifies. You start to notice synchronicities, serendipities, opportunities, because you're no longer tuned to resistance, you're tuned to receiving. And here's the most beautiful part. The old self doesn't need to be destroyed, just thanked, honored, released. It was never bad, just obsolete, like an old operating system that kept you functioning but not free. So let it go, and step into the self who already knows how this story unfolds. The self already walking in the future you thought you had to chase. You aren't attracting your new life. You're aligning with the version of you already living it. Ready to meet them? Let's not just talk about change. Let's embody it. Let's become it. Because without embodiment, no information, no insight, no teaching, no matter how powerful, will ever transform your life. This is where the shift becomes real. This is where the new timeline stabilizes. Through intentional ritual, through deliberate declaration, through full body commitment. Right now, you'll guide yourself into a quantum identity reset, not by force, not by effort, but by releasing the identity that no longer serves your future and stepping into the one that already does. Let's begin. Step 1. Name the old self. You can't release what you don't acknowledge, so give your old identity a name. It could be a word, a label, a symbol, something that captures who you've been, the you that's been stuck in fear, doubt, limitation. Maybe it's the skeptic, the perfectionist, the one who held back. Whatever name feels right, claim it. Now speak to that identity. Thank it. It kept you safe. It helped you survive. But it's not the one who will take you further. Step 2. The ritual of release. Visualize yourself carrying that version of you like a heavy weight, like the image from this video. Pulling a suitcase filled with memories, habits, old stories. Now see yourself pausing, taking it off, letting it go. You don't need to erase it. You just need to leave it behind. Picture yourself moving forward, unburdened, lighter, stronger, clearer. You've dissolved the energy that held you back, and in doing so, you've made room for a new frequency to arise. Step 3. Embody the new self. Who are you now? Feel it. In this moment, stand or sit as the version of you who already lives in alignment, the one who trusts their instinct, the one who radiates calm, the one who no longer chases because they've become what they once sought. How would they breathe, speak, observe, face challenge? Step into that version now. Step 4. Anchor it with a declaration. Repeat these words, not mechanically, but with presence, with embodiment, with intention. I know. No longer collapsing the past. I tune into who I truly am. Again, I no longer collapse the past. I tune into who I truly am. Let those words be a frequency, not just a mantra. Let them cut through the old noise. Let them echo in your cells. You're not just saying them, you're becoming them. Because every cell in your body, every atom in your being is listening. And more importantly, so is the field. As you vibrate as the new self, the field begins to realign. Possibilities that were once hidden begin to surface. People who match your new energy begin to appear. Your outer world doesn't shift because you pleaded for it. It shifts because you became someone new. You are now moving in resonance, and that resonance is your new reality. Here's the final piece. Ritual isn't just a one-time event. It's a doorway, a frequency you return to every time the old self tries to resurface, because it will. Not to undermine you, but to be seen, to be reminded that you've moved beyond it. And each time you choose again, you strengthen the new vibration. So here's your practice every morning before the world interrupts. Ask yourself, which version of me will shape reality today? And choose, consciously, lovingly, powerfully. Because when you do, you're not just changing your life. You're shifting timelines, and the ripple of that choice moves through the quantum field like a wave, reshaping what's possible, not just for you, but for every life you touch. You've reset your identity. You've collapsed the past. You've stepped into the field as someone new. When you finally release who you were, reality begins to rearrange itself around who you truly are. Not someday, not after a year of effort, but now, in this moment. Because the shift doesn't begin when the world changes. It begins when you change. And maybe for the first time in a long time, you're sensing it. That lightness, that quiet blend of peace and potential, that inner voice saying something has changed. That's not your imagination. That's the field responding. Reality was always more malleable than we were told. Not fixed, not rigid, but fluid, dynamic, alive, and ready. Not for you to chase it, but for you to align with it. This is how quantum manifestation truly works. You don't pull your future toward you, you rise to meet it. You become the frequency of the life you desire, and the external world, by universal law, must reflect it. Not because it's magic, but because it's because your vibration shapes the blueprint of your reality. And when your vibration shifts, your life can't remain the same. Look around. Nothing may seem different yet, but you are. And that changes everything. Because from now on, every thought you choose, every emotion you embrace, every belief you strengthen, either aligns you with your expanded timeline or pulls you back into the past. And you've already chosen. So now the real work begins, not in theory, but in life. When an old emotion surfaces, you'll remember this isn't me. This is residue. When an old pattern tries to replay, you'll pause and say, I no longer become that version of me. When fear whispers, you'll answer with presence. When doubt returns, you'll breathe deeper. You'll speak gentler. You'll act from a place the old self couldn't reach. You're no longer transmitting the past. You've shifted your signal. And that shift has consequences. Beautiful, unimaginable, soul-stretching consequences. Some you'll notice immediately. Unexpected, clarity, heightened synchronicities. People responding differently around you. Others will be quieter, just as real. A sudden sense of flow, ideas that come effortlessly, moments of perfect timing, confirming you're finally walking as your true self. So as we close this sacred space, I'll ask you something deeper than a like or subscribe. If this stirred something in you, if it reminded you there's a self within you that's unbroken, unwounded, free, infinite, radiant, whole, then leave a mark in the field. Make your presence felt. Speak not just to me, but to your future self. Comment below. The old me is released. Let it be your signature, your energetic imprint on the quantum field. A ripple, a vibration, a declaration. And if this space has felt like more than content, if it has felt like remembrance, then come closer. This isn't just a channel, it's a frequency, a home for those of us weaving timelines and stepping into the versions of ourselves we were born to be. So subscribe not just to stay connected, but to stay coherent, stay aligned, stay elevated. Because the real shift isn't just personal, it's collective, and the more of us who vibrate as our highest truth, the more this world reflects that truth back to us. You are not alone in this. You are part of a field of beings awakening to their quantum nature. And now that you've remembered, you can't forget. The old you has served its purpose. The new you is already living the next chapter, and reality is listening. We'll see you in the next timeline.